Hi everybody, today we will be sharing some creepy but not too scary classic poems and folktales. Light your jack-o'-lantern and settle in for some eerie tales for the whole family. The Two Sisters, an English fairy tale retold by Flora Annie Steel. Once upon a time there were two sisters who were as like each other as two peas in a pod, but one was good and the other was bad-tempered. Now their father had no work, so the girls began to think of going to service. "I will go first and see what I can make of it," said the younger sister ever so cheerfully. "Then you, sis, can follow if I have good luck." So she packed up a bundle, said goodbye, and started to find a place, but no one in the town wanted a girl, and she went further afield into the country. And as she journeyed, she came upon an oven in which a lot of loaves were baking. Now as she passed, the loaves cried out with one voice, little girl, take us out. Please take us out. We have been baking for 7 years, and no one has come to take us out. Do take us out, or we shall soon be burnt." Then, being a kind, obliging little girl, she stopped, put down her bundle, took out the bread, and went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." After a time, she came to a cow lowing beside an empty pail, and the cow said to her, little girl, milk me. Please milk me. 7 years have I been waiting, but no one has come to milk me." So the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, milked the cow into the pail, and went on her way, saying, "Now you will be more comfortable." By and by she came to an apple tree so laden with fruit that its branches were nigh to break, and the apple tree called to her, little girl, please shake my branches. The fruit is so heavy I can't stand straight." Then the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, and shook the branches so that the apples fell off, and the tree could stand straight. Then she went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." So she journeyed on till she came to a house where an old witch woman lived. Now this witch woman wanted a servant maid, and promised good wages. Therefore the girl agreed to stop with her and try how she liked the service. She had to sweep the floor, keep the house clean and tidy, the fire bright and cheery. But there was one thing the witch woman said she must never do, and that was look up the chimney. "If you do," said the witch woman, "something will fall down on you, and you will come to a bad end." Well, the girl swept and dusted and made up the fire, but ne'er a penny of wages did she see. Now the girl wanted to go home, as she did not like the witch service, for the witch used to have boiled babies for supper and bury the bones under some stones in the garden. But she did not like to go home penniless, so she stayed on, sweeping and dusting and doing her work just as if she was pleased. Then one day, as she was sweeping up the hearth, down tumbled some soot, and, without remembering she was forbidden to look up the chimney, she looked up to see where the soot came from. And lo and behold, a big bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Now the witch happened to be out on one of her witch errands, so the girl thought it a fine opportunity to be off home. So she kilted up her petticoats and started to run home. But she had only gone a little way when she heard the witch woman coming after her on the broomstick. Now the apple tree she had helped to stand straight happened to be quite close, so she ran to it and cried, apple tree, hide me so the old witch can't find me, for if she does she'll pick my bones and bury me under the garden stones." Then the apple tree said, "Of course I will. You helped me to stand straight, and one good turn deserves another." So the apple tree hid her finely in its green branches, and when the witch flew past, saying, "Tree of mine, oh tree of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid, with a willy wag and a great big bag? She's stolen my money, all I had." The apple tree answered, "No, mother dear, not for 7 year." So the witch flew on the wrong way, and the girl got down, thanked the tree politely, and started again. But just as she got to where the cow was standing beside the pail, she heard the witch coming again. So she ran to the cow and cried, "Cow, please hide me so the witch can't find me. If she does, she'll pick my bones and bury me under the garden stones." "Certainly I will," answered the cow. "Didn't you milk me and make me comfortable? Hide yourself behind me, and you'll be quite safe." And when the witch flew by and called to the cow, "Oh, cow of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid, with a willy wag and a great big bag, who stole all my money, all I had?" She just said politely, "No, mother dear, not for 7 year." Then the old witch went on in the wrong direction, and the girl started afresh on her way home. But just as she got to where the oven stood, she heard that horrid old witch coming behind her again, so she ran as fast as she could to the oven and cried, "Oh, oven, oven, hide me so the witch can't find me, for if she does, she'll pick my bones and bury them under the garden stones." Then the oven said, "I'm afraid there is no room for you as another batch of bread is baking. But there is the baker. Ask him." So she asked the baker, and he said, "Of course I will. You saved my last batch from being burnt. So run into the bakehouse, you will be quite safe there, and I will settle the witch for you." So she hid in the bakehouse, only just in time, for there was the old witch calling angrily, "Oh, man of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag, who stole all my money, all I had?" Then the baker replied, "Look in the oven. She may be there." And the witch alighted from her broomstick and peered into the oven, but she could see no one. "Creep in and look in the furthest corner," said the baker slyly. And the witch crept in, when, bang, he shut the door in her face, and there she was roasting. And when she came out with the bread, she was all crisp and brown and had to go home as best she could and put cold cream all over her. But the kind, obliging little girl got home safe with her bag of money. Now, the ill-tempered elder sister was very jealous of this good luck and determined to get a bag of gold for herself. So she, in her turn, packed up a bundle and started to seek service by the same road. But when she came to the oven, and the loaves begged her to take them out because they had been baking 7 years and were nigh to burning, she tossed her head and said, "A likely story indeed, that I should burn my fingers to save your crusts. No, thank you." And with that she went on till she came across the cow standing, waiting to be milked beside the pail. But when the cow said, little girl, milk me, please milk me. I've waited 7 years to be milked," she only laughed and replied, "Ha! You may wait another 7 years for all I care. I'm not your dairy maid." And she went on till she came to the apple tree, all overburdened by its fruit. But when it begged her to shake its branches, she only giggled, plucking one ripe apple, and said, "One is enough for me. You can keep the rest yourself." And with that she went on, munching the apple till she came to the witch-woman's house. Now the witch-woman, though she had got over being crisp and brown from the oven, was dreadfully angry with all the little maidservants, and made up her mind that this one should not trick her. So for a long time she never went out of the house. Thus the ill-tempered sister never had a chance of looking up the chimney, as she had meant to do at once. She had to dust and clean and brush and sweep ever so hard until she was quite tired out. But one day, when the witch-woman went to the garden to bury her bones, she seized the moment, looked up the chimney, and sure enough, a bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Well, she was off with it in a moment, and ran till she came to the apple tree, when she heard the witch-woman behind her. So she cried, as her sister had done, apple tree, hide me so the witch can't find me, for if she does, she'll break my bones or bury me under the garden stones." But the apple tree said, "No room here. I've too many apples." So she had to run on when the witch-woman on her broomstick came flying by and called, "Oh, tree of mine, have you seen a naughty little maid with a willy wag and a great big bag, who's stolen my money, all I had?" The apple tree replied, "Yes, mother dear, she's gone down there." Then the witch-woman went after her, caught her, gave her a thorough good beating, took the bag of money away from her, and sent her home without a penny payment for all her dusting and sweeping and brushing and cleaning. Our Little Ghost by Louisa May Alcott. Oft in the silence of the night, when the lonely moon rides high, when wintry winds are whistling and we hear the owl's shrill cry, in the quiet dusky chamber by the flickering firelight, rising up between two sleepers comes a spirit all in white. A winsome little ghost it is, rosy-cheeked and bright of eye, with yellow curls all breaking loose from the small cap pushed awry. It climbs among the pillows, for the big dark brings no dread, and a baby's boundless fancy makes a kingdom of a bed. A fearless little ghost it is, safe the night seems as the day. The moon is but a gentle face, and the sighing winds are gay. The solitude is full of friends, and the hour brings no regrets, for in this happy little soul shines a sun that never sets. A merry little ghost it is, dancing gaily by itself, on the flowery counterpane like a tricksy household elf, nodding to the fitful shadows as they flicker on the wall, talking to familiar pictures, mimicking the owl's shrill call. A thoughtful little ghost it is, and when lonely gambles tire, with chubby hands on chubby knees, it sits winking at the fire. Fancies innocent and lovely shine before those baby eyes, endless fields of dandelions, brooks and birds and butterflies. A loving little ghost it is when crept into its nest, its hand on father's shoulder laid, its head on mother's breast. It watches each familiar face with a tranquil, trusting eye, and like a sleepy little bird, sings its own lullaby. Then those who feigned sleep before, lest baby play till dawn, wake and watch their folded flower, little rose without a thorn. And in the silence of the night, the hearts that love it most pray tenderly above its sleep, God bless our little ghost. The Bogey Beast, an English fairy tale retold by Flora Annie Steel. There was once a woman who was very, very cheerful, though she had little to make her so, for she was old and poor and lonely. She lived in a little bit of a cottage and earned a scant living by running errands for her neighbors, getting a bite here, a sup there, as a reward for her services. So she made shift to get on, and always looked as spry and cheery as if she had not a want in the world. Now one summer evening, as she was trotting, full of smiles as ever, along the high road to her hovel, what should she see but a big black pot lying in the ditch? "Goodness me," she cried, "that would just be the very thing for me if only I had something to put in it. Oh, but I haven't. Now who could have left it in the ditch?" And she looked about her, expecting the owner would not be far off, but she could see nobody. "Maybe there is a hole in it," she went on, "and that's why it has been cast away. But it would do fine to put a flower in for my window, so I'll just take it home with me." And with that she lifted the lid and looked inside. "Mercy me," she cried, fair amazed, "if it isn't full of gold pieces! Here's luck." And so it was, brimful of great gold coins. Well, at first she simply stood stock still, wondering if she was standing on her head or her heels. Then she began saying, "Lawks, but do I feel rich! I feel awful rich." After she had said this many times, she began to wonder how she was to get her treasure home. It was too heavy for her to carry, and she could see no better way than to tie the end of her shawl to it and drag it behind her like a go-cart. "It will soon be dark," she said to herself as she trotted along. "So much the better. The neighbors will not see what I'm bringing home, and I shall have all the night to myself and be able to think what I'll do. Mayhap I'll buy a grand house and just sit by the fire with a cup of tea and do no work at all like a queen. Or maybe I'll bury it at the garden foot and just keep a bit in the old china teapot on the chimney-piece. Or maybe... Oh, goody, goody, I feel that grand I don't know myself." By this time, she was a bit tired of dragging such a heavy weight, and stopping to rest a while, turned to look at her treasure. And lo, it wasn't a pot of gold at all. It was nothing but a lump of silver. She stared at it and rubbed her eyes, and stared at it again. "Well, I never," she said at last, "and me thinking it was a pot of gold. I must have been dreaming. But this is luck. Silver is far less trouble, easier to mind, and not so easily stolen. Them gold pieces would have been the death of me, and with this great lump of silver—" So she went off again, planning what she would do, and feeling as rich, until becoming a bit tired again, she stopped to rest, and gave a look round to see if her treasure was safe. And she saw nothing but a great lump of iron. "Well, I never," she says again. "And I mistaking it for silver. I must have been dreaming. But this is luck. It's real convenient. I can get penny pieces for old iron, and penny pieces are a deal handier for me than your gold and silver. Why, I should never have slept a wink for fear of being robbed. But a penny piece comes in useful, and I shall sell that iron for a lot and be real rich, rolling rich." So she trotted on, full of plans as to how she would spend her penny pieces, till once more she stopped to rest and looked around to see her treasure was safe. And this time she saw nothing but a big stone. "Well, I never," she cried, full of smiles. "And to think I mistook it for iron. I must have been dreaming. But here's luck indeed, and me wanting a stone terrible bad to stick open the gate? Oh, my! but it's a change for the better. It's a fine thing to have good luck." So all in a hurry to see how the stone would keep the gate open, she trotted off down the hill till she came to her own cottage. She unlatched the gate, and then turned to unfasten her shawl from the stone which lay on the path behind her. Aye, it was a stone, sure enough. There was plenty light to see it lying there, douce and peaceable as a stone should. So she bent over it to unfasten the shawl end, when, oh my! All of a sudden it gave a jump, a squeal, and in one moment it was big as a haystack. Then it let down 4 great lanky legs, and threw out 2 long ears, nourished a great long tail, and romped off, kicking and squealing and whinnying and laughing like a naughty, mischievous boy. The old woman stared after it till it was fairly out of sight. Then she burst out laughing too. "Well," she chuckled, "am I in luck? Quite the luckiest body hereabouts. Fancy my seeing the bogey beast all to myself and making myself so free with it too. My goodness, I do feel that uplifted, that grand." So she went into her cottage and spent the evening chuckling over her good luck. The Strange Visitor by Joseph Jacobs. A woman was sitting at her reel one night, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of broad soles and sat down at the fireside, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of small legs and sat down on the broad soles, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of thick knees and sat down on the small legs, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of thin thighs and sat down on the thick knees, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of huge hips and sat down on the thin thighs, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a wee waist and sat down on the huge hips, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of broad shoulders and sat down on the wee waist, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of small arms and sat down on the broad shoulders, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a pair of huge hands and sat down on the small arms, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a small neck and sat down on the broad shoulders, and still she sat, and still she reeled, and still she wished for company. In came a huge head and sat down on the small neck. "How did you get such broad feet?" quoth the woman. Much tramping. "How did you get such small legs?" "I late and wee mole." "How did you get such thick knees?" Much praying. "How did you get such thin thighs?" "Ah, late and wee mole." "How did you get such big hips?" Much sitting. "How did you get such a wee waist?" "I late and wee mole." "How did you get such broad shoulders?" With carrying broom. "How did you get such small arms?" "I late and wee mole." "How did you get such huge hands?" Threshing with an iron flail. "How did you get such a small neck?" "I late wee mole." "How did you get such a huge head?" Much knowledge. "What do you come for?" "For you!"